Hello, fifth graders. So in the previous lesson, we began our new topic, which is all about multiplying fractions. And the last lesson was all about multiplying a whole number by a fraction. Well, today's lesson is going to be the same thing, but a little different. Instead of multiplying a whole number by a fraction, we're going to talk about how to multiply a fraction by a whole number. Now, I know it may seem very similar, and if you're just multiplying the numbers, it is similar, but we're going to be talking about how to model this, and when we model it, it's a little bit different than how we did it in the past lesson, okay? So let's look at this problem. It says Brandon has 6 eggs. He needs 2/3 of the eggs to make an omelet. How many eggs does he need? So there's a question that says, what keyword tells you what to do? He needs 2/3 of the eggs, or of these 6 eggs. The key word that tells you that you need to multiply is this word, 2/3 of something. Anything of something else, of equals multiply. All right, so that's a key word. When we see the word of, 2/3 of something, he went 4/5 of the course, or of 5 miles. That of stands for multiplication. So 2/3 times, or of, the 6 eggs, because that's how many eggs he needs. He needs 2/3 of the 6. So the first way we can do it is very similar to one of the ways we learned in the last lesson, which was just straight up multiplication. So we have 2/3 times 6. That's the same thing as saying 2/3 times, and remember, we need to put the whole number over a 1. We need to treat it like a fraction as well. And now we can just multiply straight across. So 2 times 6 is 12. 3 times 1 is 3. And then we simplify. Remember, this line, just like I talked about last time, stands for division. So 12 divided by 3. 3 times 4 is 12 exactly. And we get 4 as our answer. Okay, so 2/3 of 6 is 4 eggs. Okay, so he needs 4 eggs to make the omelet. Let's try another one. And again, this is just like straight up multiplication like we were doing last time. So 3/8 times, and again, the 4 goes over a 1. Multiply straight across. Okay, we have 3 times 4 is 12. 8 times 1 is 8. And again, we are left with an improper fraction, which we cannot keep. So we need to simplify, which means this line stands for division. We talked about this already. 12 divided by 8. 8 goes into 12 once. To get 8, we subtract, we get 4. We can't continue this anymore. Our quotient is our whole number. It goes in one whole time. Our remainder is our numerator, with 4 out of 8 left over. But again, we can simplify 4/8, 1.5, because we can divide top and bottom by 4. So this way of multiplying whole numbers by fractions, or fractions by whole numbers, is very similar to what we did in the last lesson. So this should be very familiar to you. Now we're going to talk about how to model a fraction by a whole number, multiplying a fraction by a whole number, which the modeling portion is a little bit different than what we learned when we modeled multiplying a whole number by a fraction. So how to model it, just like we did before, we're going to draw it out, okay? Now, this is a different scenario than our last lesson, because last lesson was all about repeated addition. You had a fraction, and you were repeating that fraction a bunch of different times, okay? But in this case, the word problem's different. You're trying to find 3/4 of 8 wholes. So when you get a problem like this where the fraction is first, to model it, you need to start off with the whole number. The whole number is 8. So you're going to draw 8 wholes. That's what you're going to start with. The next step, it says, since you are finding 3/4 of 8, you want to divide the 8 into 4 equal parts. So you can see I just drew a line in between and split up the 8 wholes into 4 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I did that because we're finding 3/4 of 8, so we need it split into fourths. Now that it is split into fourths, so step 3, count 3 out of 4, because that's what we're trying to find, 3/4. And whatever that is your answer. So this is 1/4, so 1, 2. This is 2/4, 3, 4. This is 3/4, 5, 6. So we have 6 wholes, and that is our answer, 6. Okay, and that's a little different than how we modeled it in the last lesson. Okay, so let's do another example of this. Okay, now this is where you're going to kind of, it's kind of drawn out for you, and this is where the virtual learning is a little hard because it's hard for me to have you draw these and me actually see what you're doing. So I actually drew the shapes for you to start, but you're going to move some things around throughout as well. Okay, so this problem, and I actually didn't even write the problem at the top. That was my bad. This problem is 2/3 times 9. That's the problem that we're solving. All right, so that's basically what we're saying is we're finding 2/3 of 9 wholes. So whatever the whole number is, you draw it out. So you see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 wholes drawn. Okay, now since you are finding 2/3 of 9, divide the 9 into how many equal parts? Remember the last one, we are finding 3/4, so we were dividing the 8 into 4 equal parts. The denominator tells us that. So how many equal parts are we going to divide the 9 wholes into? Well, the denominator is 3, so 3 equal parts. So what you're going to do with these little sticks here, you're just going to drag those sticks over so that you can divide those 9 wholes into 3 equal parts. And you can see, you can play around with them a little bit. If I did it like this, okay, that's, first of all, 4 parts, and they're not equal because there's 2, 2, 2, and then 3. So it needs to be 3 equal parts with the same number in each. So the only way to do that is to draw one of your lines there and one of your lines there. 1 equal part, 2 equal parts, 3 equal parts, all with 3. Okay, now that that is split into blank, count blank. Now that it is split into thirds, count 2 out of the 3. Just like we did here. Now it's split into fourths. Count 3 out of the 4. For this, it's split into thirds and count 2 out of the 3 because we're finding 2/3. So you can bring those lines down here to draw your spots. And how you can identify that it's a third. If you want, you can click on the circle and change the background of it so it's a different color. So this is 1/3. This is 2/3. Okay. So how many holes do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So the answer is 6 holes. It's kind of funny because it's the same one as the last one. All right. And we can double check this. If you're like a little skeptical, all right, you can check it by doing the multiplication that we were doing in the beginning of this lesson. 2/3 times 9/1 equals 18/3. And if we simplified that, that's 18 divided by 3, which would give you 6. All right. So what you guys are going to do is you are going to do a little bit of practice with some of this modeling. All right. And you're also going to just have some more practice of multiplying a fraction by a whole number and doing it this way. The main thing, I want you to be very comfortable with this method, okay? Because you're going to be using this method a lot, the multiplying the numerators by the numerators and denominators by the denominators. We're going to be using that method a lot when it comes to multiplying fractions. But I also want you to be comfortable with how to model this as well. All right, so make sure, just like in past lessons, use your notes. This is totally new information for you, and I want you to be comfortable with this. So make sure you use your notes to help you throughout the homework if you have any questions. I am also available if you want to send me an email. I can answer any questions you have as well. All right, have a wonderful day, 5th grade, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.